In the glittering shadows of Seoul's underworld, a feared mafia boss discovers something more dangerous than his enemies. An unexpected taste of warmth hidden inside his quiet Nigerian secretary's lunchbox. What begins as curiosity soon unravels his control, awakening emotions he buried and changing both their lives in ways neither imagined. Kang Dae-hyun doesn't knock. He doesn't wait. He doesn't explain himself. At 29, he commands Seoul's most feared underworld syndicate, a throne inherited from a father who taught him that mercy is a weapon turned inward. His office on the 40th floor of Gangnam's Diamond Tower is all black marble, smoked glass, and silence. The kind of silence that makes grown men tremble before they even speak. His new secretary, Amara, arrived 3 months ago. A young Nigerian woman with a quiet resume and an even quieter demeanor. She wears modest blazers, keeps her braids pinned in a tight bun, and never makes eye contact longer than necessary. To Dae-hyun, she's invisible, a functional ghost who files reports, pours his whiskey at exactly 6:47 p.m., and disappears. Perfect for the job. Every afternoon, while he lunches at Michelin-starred restaurants with couples who smile like knives, Amara slips away to the cramped break room on the 39th floor. She carries a plain gray lunchbox, the kind sold in basement stationery shops for $5. No logos. No flair. Dae-hyun never thought twice about it. Until one rainy Tuesday, a meeting cancels. He's restless, prowling the halls like a caged wolf. Through the glass wall of the break room, he sees her. Head bowed over the small gray box. Steam rising. And then, a smell. Warm. Spiced. Complex. It cuts through the building's stale air of expensive cologne and anxiety. It smells like somewhere else. Somewhere far from Seoul's cold steel. Curiosity, rare and sharp, cuts through his indifference. He pushes the door open without announcing himself. Amara looks up, startled. Before she can speak, he reaches down and snatches the lunchbox open. He expected instant noodles. Convenience store kimbap. The cheap fuel of an underpaid employee. Instead, jollof rice, sunset orange and fragrant. Grilled chicken glazed with something smoky. Fried plantains, caramelized at the edges. A small container of stew that looks like liquid ruby. This looks alive, he mutters. And then, he does something he hasn't done in years, without calculating the cost. He picks up her fork, and takes a bite. The heat hits first. Then sweetness. Then a slow, rolling spice that blooms across his tongue like a question. It's nothing like Korean food. It's bold, unapologetic, loud in a way his world never allows. Amara freezes. Her hands hover midair. But when he looks up, she isn't trembling. She isn't running. She's amused. A small, dangerous smile plays at the corner of her lips. Boss, she says softly, in my country, we ask before stealing from a woman's plate. For the first time in years, Kang Dae-hyun has nothing cold or cutting to say. He only wants another bite. That single bite should have been nothing. A stolen forkful. An abandoned curiosity. But Dae-hyun finds himself standing outside the 39th floor break room the next day, at exactly 1:15 p.m. He tells himself it's a break in schedule. A whim. Then he does it again. And again. He starts arriving early, a stack of reports in his hand that he doesn't read. His eyes drift to the doorway. When the soft click of her heels approaches, his shoulders relax, a tell he doesn't notice. Amara settles into her corner, opens the gray lunchbox, and Dae-hyun appears like a shadow. No greeting. Just a pull of the chair across from her. What is this red stew? He asks, pointing with his chin. Chicken stew, she says carefully. My mother's recipe. She adds bell peppers and thyme. Why do you add ginger here? He gestures at the rice. Amara pauses mid-chew. Because ginger wakes up the food. In Lagos we say, she stops. Shakes her head. Never mind. Say it. She meets his eyes for the first time. We say, a closed mouth is a closed destiny. Ginger opens the mouth. So it opens the road. Dae-hyun stares at her. Then he takes the fork from her hand, again, and eats in silence. The days fold into weeks. He learns the names of things. Igosi, Ava Riro, Dodo, the plantains, not the bird. He learns that her mother cooked for 12 children in a cramped kitchen with a rusted roof, and that Amara learned to stretch a single chicken into 3 meals. He learns that she came to Korea alone at 24, with $200 and a translation app. And he listens, truly listens, while men in his world pay for secrets with blood. Amara notices. The same hands that sign ruthless contracts now hold her plastic fork like it might break. The same eyes that intimidate lieutenants soften when she explains why she adds crayfish to her stew. She stops being wary. She starts smiling. Then comes the rain. A rival faction ambushes his car near Hanam Bridge. 2 men dead. Dae-hyun escapes with a gash from shoulder to elbow. Deep, angry, bleeding through his jacket. He doesn't go to a hospital. He doesn't call his men. He knocks on her studio apartment door at midnight. Amara opens it. Sees the blood. Sees the man beneath the monster. She pulls him inside. She stitches him with a sewing needle and thread. Then she spreads her grandmother's herbal balm, shea butter, turmeric, something bitter she calls tears of the baobab, over the wound. Her hands are steady. Her breathing calm. You don't fear me, he whispers. She doesn't look up. I fear losing you to your own walls. That night, Kang Dae-hyun lies on her second-hand couch, wrapped in a blanket that smells like Jollof rice, and realizes the truth. He hasn't fallen for an idea. Not for her smile, or her cooking, or her softness. He has fallen for her, the whole, steel-spined, ginger-hearted woman who stitched him back together without asking for a single promise. For the first time, he is terrified. Not of rivals. Not of death. But of wanting something he doesn't know how to keep. The morning after she stitched his arm, Kang Dae-hyun disappeared. Not literally. He still sat in his 40th floor office, still signed death warrants disguised as contracts, still wore the same cold mask. But he stopped coming to the break room. Stopped stealing bites from her lunchbox. When Amara passed him in the hallway, he looked through her like she was made of glass. He told himself it was mercy. His world was broken bottles, screaming backrooms, and men who buried secrets in concrete. She deserved sunlight. Weekends at farmers' markets. A man who came home without blood under his fingernails. So he built the wall again, brick by trembling brick. Amara let him sulk for exactly 1 week. On Friday morning, she pushed open his office door without knocking. No one did that. His lieutenants froze. Dae-hyun looked up, ready to roar, and stopped. She was carrying 2 lunchboxes. Not the plain gray one. These were new, bright yellow, with a smiling cartoon pepper on each lid. You don't get to decide my risk, she said, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. Idechide. Now eat. She set both boxes on his marble desk. Opened them. Jollof rice steam curled into the cold air. Fried plantains glistened. The stew was so red it looked like a warning. The room went silent. 3 of his most dangerous men watched their boss stare at a lunchbox like it was a loaded gun. Then, for the first time in their memory, Kang Dae-hyun laughed. A real laugh. Rough and surprised, like a man who forgot he still could. He picked up his fork. That was the beginning. Over the next 6 months, Dae-hyun did the unthinkable. He called his father's old allies into a closed-door meeting and announced he was dissolving the syndicate's illegal operations. Gambling rings closed. Protection rackets ended. 2 men walked out forever. The rest stayed, because he offered them something better. Legitimate paychecks, construction companies, logistics firms with real licenses and real futures. They called him a traitor. A fool. They said a woman's cooking had melted his spine. He didn't care. On a quiet Sunday, 6 months and 12 stolen lunchboxes later, Dae-hyun found Amara in her tiny kitchen. She was stirring a pot of jollof rice, humming a song in Yoruba, wearing an oversized hoodie with holes in both sleeves. The window was open. Rain fell softly on Seoul's rooftops. He walked in, dropped to one knee on her scuffed linoleum floor. No ring. He'd left it in his coat pocket because his hands were shaking too much to find it. Stay, he said. His voice cracked. Kang Dae-hyun, who had never begged for anything in his life, whispered, stay forever. Amara turned off the stove, looked down at him. Her eyes were wet, but her smile was pure mischief. Yes, she said. On one condition. Anything. She handed him an onion. You learn to chop this without crying. I refuse to marry a man who weeps over vegetables. He took the onion, peeled it, sliced it with the same precision he once used to end careers. Tears streamed down his face. From the onion, he insisted. From the onion. Their wedding made no sense to Seoul's underworld. The feared dragon, and the African secretary who packed his lunch. But legends don't have to make sense. They only have to be true. And the strangest legend of all, every afternoon, at exactly 1:15 p.m., the most dangerous man in Seoul sits in a tiny break room, holds a plastic fork, and waits for his wife to feed him something that tastes like home. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment for more stories from Korean Soul Love.